Throughout history, there are numerous accounts of people having direct contact with what they believe to be extraterrestrials. Whether it's strange visitations during the night, or more disturbingly, having been abducted. Whether these close encounters are true or not, most of these reported cases are malevolent in nature, from strange experiments being carried out to physical harm. It's a terrifying ordeal, but what if not all of these encounters were awful? What if the alien entities in question simply wanted to help and invite us on a journey of exploration to learn all that we can about our vast universe? Hi folks, I'm Johnny and welcome to The Oddest. If it's your first time here, then welcome. Say hi to the community in the comments below. If it's your second or third time here, then let me ask you a question. Why have you not subscribed? One stormy night back in 1980, there's a man that just may well have been given that chance. Whether his fate was more earthly in nature, or whether he embarked on the most fantastic journey in human history, one question had been on everyone's mind for the past 4 decades. What happened to Granger Taylor? Let's head across to British Columbia in Canada. There lies a wee city on the southern end of Vancouver Island called Duncan. With a population of a little over 5,000 people, Duncan is well known for not only being the smallest city in Canada, but for its large collection of totem poles, earning its tagline City of Totems back in 1985. Duncan has a large indigenous community and is a traditional home of the Kiwetsin tribes. On the morning of the 30th of November back in 1980, the residents of Duncan woke up to face damage to their property, with fallen trees having blocked roads. Farm animals had escaped through smashed fences and debris lay strewn across the entire landscape. All the hallmarks of one of the more severe storms the area had ever endured. Rooftops were stripped off, windows were shattered, and damage to the power grid overnight meant that the entire area was left without electricity. But the small community banded together, clearing the roads of fallen debris, sweeping up the glass and repairing power lines. It was a huge team effort to get their wee logging town back up and running again. While the folks in town were accustomed to putting in a good day's work, there was the sense that things might have been a wee bit easier with the assistance of a mysterious neighbour, Granger Taylor. See, he was a bit of a local legend and an engineering genius, and he would have been more than happy to lend a helping hand in fixing things just for the pure thrill of it. That's what he liked to do, fix things. However, he was nowhere to be seen. Upon making inquiries with Granger's family, it was quickly discovered that he in fact had not been seen by anyone since the night before. Whispers and rumours started circulating, suggesting all sorts of peculiar scenarios about the whole whereabouts of this eccentric genius. However, the real story behind what happened to him might have been even more unusual and definitely more heart-wrenching than the townsfolk could ever have imagined. See, that same morning, Granger's stepfather awoke to find a handwritten note from him, which was left there the previous night, the night he mysteriously vanished from the face of the planet. Although some may interpret this as a farewell indicating a possible suicide, Granger went out of his way to reassure his family and friends that this simply wasn't the case. In this letter, he detailed his plans to depart that evening, setting off on a 3.5-year journey with the intention of coming back home after soaking up all of the knowledge that he could. Sadly though, even although Granger's family left the back gates unlocked for many years hoping that he would simply return, their son never did come back. The mystery of what happened to him continues to baffle everyone, nearly 4 decades later. Regardless of whether there's a resolution, Granger's life story is truly remarkable and inspiring. Granger Ormond Taylor entered the world on October 7th, 1948, in Duncan, where he spent his entire life. Despite the early tragedy of his father's accidental drowning at a waterside retreat on Horn Lake, Granger enjoyed the support of a close-knit and caring family. Obviously, losing his father at such a young age affected the guy emotionally and psychologically, even into adulthood. During his childhood, Granger became reserved and introverted. He much preferred to spend his time alone in his bedroom. A few years later, his mother found love again in the form of Jim Taylor, a kind and caring man with children of his own. Granger developed a deep bond with his stepfather and step-siblings, creating a stable and supportive home life by all accounts. Despite dropping out of school in the 8th grade, which would be around second year in high school here in the UK, Granger's departure from formal education didn't overshadow his intelligence. Early on in life, he demonstrated an exceptional understanding of machinery and engineering. After a year working as a mechanic's apprentice, he undertook the impressive task of building and restoring several vehicles on his own. These projects he saw as a challenge. Even seasoned experts would write off these vehicles as beyond help. But Granger, well, he saw something else. He saw potential. I'll give you an example. At just 14 years old, Granger constructed a fully functional one-cylinder car, which even now is proudly on display at the Duncan Forest Museum. Then, at 17, he continued his work by constructing a fully operational bulldozer, which he would often use to help out his fellow neighbours with odd construction work. However, the pinnacle of Granger's rebuilds was an old locomotive. In 1969, while still in his early 20s, Granger stumbled upon an old, abandoned and decaying steam train. This once loco was used for transporting timber across British Columbia. Despite the engine's rusted state, it was full of holes with trees sprouting out through the chassis, and it had warped, seized up wheels. The young prodigy, described by his friend Bob Nielsen as nothing short of an eccentric genius, tirelessly worked on the machine for nearly 2 years. Granger crafted panels from scratch, fully restoring the locomotive to its former glory. Actually, the province of British Columbia ended up buying it from him for a tidy wee sum. By this time, he was well known in the area for being a smart and skilled restorer. The Taylor farm, where Granger carried out his work, lovingly called Sleepy Hollow Museum by the locals, had become a bit of a local attraction. It was a fun place where many children in the area delighted in spending time there with Granger, exploring the collection of vehicles and heavy machinery that accumulated on the property. For years, Granger found joy in entertaining himself with one project after another. However, as is the case for most people who push themselves to the point of no longer being challenged, he eventually grew weary of tinkering with trains and cars. His attention grew skyward. In his adult years, Granger developed a keen interest in flight. He earned his pilot's licence and undertook the ambitious task of restoring a run-down World War II Kitty Hawk fighter to full working order, a project that he later sold for $20,000. Despite accumulating a respectable sum of cash from his projects, buying scrap at low cost and selling the finished vehicles to wealthy collectors and state services, Granger didn't have much use for his earnings beyond fueling his hobby. It was all that he could think about. The Sleepy Hollow Museum continued to captivate the locals, becoming a cherished spot where Granger's passion for mechanics and flight was abundantly apparent to all those who visited. He never expressed a desire to move away, to start a family of his own, to do anything really besides stay at his parents' farm and tinker away all day long in the garage. It was likely that this ceaseless strive for knowledge fueled Granger's eventual interest in UFOs. See, he had conquered every discipline that conventional machines had presented to him, and so it was only natural for him to seek a worthy challenge from beyond the realm of human knowledge. His interest quickly developed into an obsession. He spent days alone studying, trying to work out exactly how these UFOs and alien craft were able to maneuver the way that they did, often seeming to defy gravity or blink in and out of existence as had been reported, not only worldwide, but in his own community. Granger's newfound interest in the unknown was further ignited when on New Year's Eve of 1969 an event occurred at the Cowitson District Hospital. See, 3 nurses were working the graveyard shift there and were astonished when they were alerted by several patients that there was an object hovering outside, a mere 60 feet away from the window. This would be the first of many such sightings in the area. Chances are the high-profile cases happening in Granger's neighbourhood during his growing up years had a significant impact on his adult interests. But no matter what sparked his newfound obsession, one thing was abundantly clear. This challenge was going to be different from anything he had ever faced before. It's one thing to tinker with a car engine, but delving into alien craft propulsion systems, well, that's a different kettle of fish. But you know, saying that, just look at Bob Lazar. He started off tinkering with cars and even created a jet engine car, and then he ended up working at Area 51.
Take my word for it. There's no Area 51. There's no recovered spaceship.
Excuse me, Mr. President. That's not entirely accurate.
Throughout his life, Granger had this uncanny knack for learning and understanding pretty much anything he set his mind to. Yet the mystery of supposed extraterrestrial propulsion systems, that proved to be a formidable puzzle. He never gave up though. He leveraged his impressive skills to create a life-size replica of an alien craft at the bottom of his garden. Using spare satellite dishes and scrap metal, he decked out the ship with a wood-burning stove, a couch and even a television. Granger would spend long hours in his makeshift home away from home, often catching some shut-eye as he delved into his studies there. His personal library was filled with a vast collection of books delving into eyewitness accounts of UFOs and the writings of those who claimed to possess the secrets of their abilities. Unfortunately, this didn't really help Granger's investigation much, as these books mostly boiled down to unverified testimonies and pseudoscience. For most gifted individuals, hitting such a roadblock might have dampened their enthusiasm, leading them to lose interest altogether and eventually just give up, maybe moving on to something else. But not our lad Granger. He was determined. That was until one day he received a message. And it wasn't from this planet. Whenever Granger socialised, UFOs were always on his mind. He'd often weave his research into conversations with friends. One evening, while catching up with his lifelong companion Bob Nielsen, Granger opened up to him. He revealed that during one of his self-imposed isolation phases, he claimed to have received a telepathic message from an extraterrestrial intelligence. Granger couldn't see these beings, but he could certainly hear their voices in his mind. I mean, naturally, his pal Nielsen was sceptical of this, but he played along with his friend. Granger shared that he had numerous telepathic conversations with these entities, during which he would inquire about how their crafts actually maneuver. The beings supposedly revealed only one cryptic detail. The secret was connected to magnetism. In October of 1980, an excited Granger shared with Nielsen that he had scored an invitation for a trip throughout the galaxy. Nielsen, thinking it was just another odd dream or just a product of Granger's well-known eccentricities, well, he went along with it. Like I said before, they humoured him. They were good friends and certainly didn't ridicule him. To the contrary, they said, well, do you know what? Let's have a wee going away party. Even though deep down none of them doubted that Granger would still be tinkering away in his garage long after he was supposed to be going away. That assumption, well, they were wrong. Just a month later, on November 29th, the town of Duncan found itself under a severe storm warning. Despite the impending tempest, at 6 p.m. that night, Granger casually strolled into Bob's Grill, a diner where he was a regular. One of the waitresses there, Linda Barron, observed that although he was wearing his usual clothes, like heavy boots, jeans, a t-shirt and a knitted sweater, there was a conspicuous absence of a waterproof jacket or a large overcoat. It was clear that he was not prepared for the weather outside. Settling his bill, Granger left the diner at 6:30 p.m, just as the storm unleashed its fury on the town and the surrounding area. Linda would be the last person to lay eyes on him. Granger hopped into his Datsun truck and drove off. He was never seen again. The very next day marked the beginning of an extensive search. A journey that would eventually lead to acceptance and resignation, acknowledging that he had seemingly vanished without a trace. On that fateful day, his stepfather stumbled upon a note that Granger left, which conveyed a unique message.
Dear Mother and Father, I have gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship as recurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I am leaving behind all of my possessions to you, as I will no longer require the use of any. Please use the instructions in my will as a guide to help. Love, Granger.
Granger's note was not a farewell in the traditional sense. He made it absolutely clear that he intended to return after his cosmic exploration. He even referred to the will that he had prepared, designating all of his earthly belongings to his parents. What added to this confusion was the silence about his alleged extraterrestrial communications and his decision to leave, catching his family completely off guard. Unfortunately, Granger's mother was away on vacation during his sudden disappearance, which deprived her of the chance to say goodbye to her son. In the absence of a body, authorities grappled with explaining the mysterious disappearance of Granger Taylor, turning it into one of the most enduring puzzles in Canadian history. The information available from the time he vanished mainly comprises of newspaper clippings and the strange speculations of UFO enthusiasts which, whilst captivating, well, they carry little more credibility than campfire stories. To make sense of the situation, it's essential to explore more plausible explanations. One conceivable scenario is that Granger just chose to end his own life, crafting the narrative of an extraterrestrial voyage to provide solace to his friends and family, suggesting he was off exploring the stars. Some speculate that Granger's struggle to grasp the complexities of space travel might have taken a toll on him, leading to frustration and depression during his extended periods of isolation. The fact that Granger relinquished all of his earthly possessions adds weight to this theory. While someone planning a lengthy journey anywhere might part with a few belongings, it's unusual for them to divest themselves of everything that they own, let alone draft a will. However, if he did take his own life, the question remains, where's the body? In 1986, 6 years after his mysterious vanishing, remnants of clothing, bone fragments and shards of a truck believed to be that of Granger's were found in a crater on an unnamed mountain. The prevailing theory here suggests that Granger might have been transporting dynamite in his truck, a tool that he typically used for clearing tree stumps. Speculation circulated that the young prodigy drove up the mountain and deliberately caused an explosion that ended his life. However, none of the recovered remains were conclusively proven to be Taylor's, or from his truck. For instance, the metal shards that were found were actually pink, not the light blue of Taylor's vehicle. Moreover, this discovery predates the era of DNA analysis, leaving uncertainty about the authenticity of the bones as being Granger's. Given the substantial time lapse between his disappearance and the discovery of the remains, it's plausible that weathering and erosion caused metal discoloration, and the rest of the body may have succumbed to animal predation. Yet, without concrete evidence, speculation remains rampant. Some people still speculate that he staged his own death to start anew somewhere else. However, this theory raises questions about why he would put his family and friends through immense emotional distress, when simply moving would have sufficed. He had plenty of money in the bank, and his talents, well, finding steady work elsewhere would likely have been easily done. While it seems unlikely that Granger ran away, displayed no signs of depression, and had no apparent motive for faking his own death, his friend Robert Keller and sister Grace Young disclosed a lesser known aspect of this young guy's life. See, they claim that Granger had a history of drug use, not uncommon for many young people of that era. Allegedly, he had been smoking marijuana for years, and according to his sister, he had taken significant doses of LSD in the months leading up to his disappearance. Considering the association of hallucinations and psychological abnormalities with substances like LSD, it is totally plausible that Granger genuinely believed that he would be taken away on board an alien spacecraft, having experienced these hallucinations for weeks. Under the influence, or due to some form of accident, the dynamite in Taylor's truck might have detonated, leading to his instant demise. Other plausible theories surrounding Granger Taylor's disappearance include the possibility of a kidnapping and murder, with his vehicle being stolen, or the chance that he drove into quicksand or a sinkhole during this storm, leaving his body trapped somewhere underground. While an accident remains a plausible explanation, we can't dismiss the idea that Granger might have had some sort of supernatural experience that's just beyond our human understanding. Some speculate that Granger, being the adventurous soul that he was, embraced this mysterious encounter as a challenge, facing it with the same open arms that he approached life. However, if this were the case, Why wasn't he returned, as he indicated that he would? Could the intelligence that allegedly communicated with him have been malicious, manipulating him into a false sense of security? Alternatively, the concept of time dilation does come into play here. Considering the phenomenal speeds that he would theoretically be travelling, what feels like 3 years to him could pass much slower for us back here on Earth, leaving the possibility that he might still come back. The case remains shrouded in uncertainty, much like the vast unknowns of the universe itself. What we do know is that on a stormy night in November, an enigmatic man, cherished not only by his friends and family but by the entire community, embarked on a voyage into the unknown.
I can hardly believe that Granger's off in a spaceship. But if there is a flying object out there, then he's the one to find it.
Granger Taylor's story may be shrouded in mystery, but it leaves us with a powerful legacy: the audacity to dream. Let his passion for the unknown ignite our own, pushing us to explore, to question, to reach for the stars. So the next time that you look up at the night sky, share a wee passing thought for this wondrous person that was Granger Taylor. Perhaps, in searching for answers about him, we may just discover the courage to write our own chapters in the adventures of our lives. Thanks ever so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. I always appreciate every single one of you. Please stay safe out there, folks. Tell someone that you love them. And remember, keep smiling.